The roasted chicken sat in the middle of my dining room table, golden and perfect, just like I'd made it every Sunday for the past 35 years. The candlelight flickered across the faces of my family, and for a moment, I almost forgot how much everything had changed. "Pass the mac and cheese, Grandma," my grandson Tyler said, and I handed him the dish with a smile. He was 14 now, growing so fast. His sister Maya, 16, scrolled on her phone, barely looking up. My daughter Jasmine sat across from me, her honey blonde highlights catching the light. She wore a designer dress I'd never seen before. Her husband Devante sat beside her, his gold Rolex glinting as he reached for his wine glass. They'd moved in with me 6 months ago after Devante's business venture fell through. That's what Jasmine called it. I called it what it was, another failed scheme that left them broke and desperate. "So, Mom," Jasmine said, cutting into her chicken, "Devante and I were talking. We think it's time you started thinking about downsizing." I set down my fork slowly. "Downsizing?" "Yeah." Devante jumped in, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place. "I mean, you're 65 now, Loretta. This house is way too big for one person. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, that big backyard. It's a lot to maintain at your age. At my age, like I was ancient. Like I hadn't worked 2 jobs for 20 years to pay off this house after Jasmine's father left us. I managed just fine," I said quietly. Jasmine exchanged a look with Devante. It was the kind of look that made my stomach turn, the kind that said they'd already made up their minds about something. "We're just worried about you," Jasmine said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "And honestly, Mom, with you retired now, it doesn't make sense to keep paying for all this space. You could sell, move into a nice little condo, and have money left over to, I don't know, enjoy your retirement. And we could finally get our own place," Devante added, grinning. "With the equity from this house, we could put a down payment on something really nice. Maybe in that new development over by the lake." I stared at them. The candles flickered. Somewhere in my chest, something cracked. "You want me to sell my house," I said slowly, "so you can buy yours." "It's not like that, Mom," Jasmine said quickly. "We're family. We help each other out." "Like I've been helping you out for the past 6 months?" I asked. "Letting you live here rent-free? Paying your car note when Devante's check was delayed? Covering Jasmine's credit card bills?" Devante's smile faded. "We said we'd pay you back." "When?" I asked. "When exactly were you planning to pay me back the $4,200 I've spent on your bills every month since March?" The table went silent. Tyler and Maya both looked up from their plates. Jasmine's face flushed. "You're really going to throw that in our faces?" Jasmine said, her voice rising. "At Sunday dinner? That's low, Mom, real low." "You know what's low?" Devante said, standing up from the table. "Having a mother-in-law who keeps score. Who can't just help her own daughter without making her feel like crap about it." He started laughing then. It was a mean laugh, the kind that made my skin crawl. "You want to know what's really funny?" he said, walking around the table toward me. "Everyone at the dealership where I work, they all talk about their mothers-in-law. The crazy ones, the controlling ones. But me? I got stuck with the loser mother-in-law." My breath caught. "Yeah, that's right," he continued, his voice getting louder. "The one who works her whole life and has nothing to show for it but this old house. The one who couldn't keep a husband. The one who thinks throwing money at her daughter will make up for being a failure at everything else. He leaned against the table, looking at Jasmine and the kids like he was putting on a show. "So tell me, Loretta," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "How does it feel to be a loser, Mile?" Jasmine giggled, actually giggled. Then she started laughing too. Not a nervous laugh, but a real one. Like what he'd said was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Maya and Tyler didn't laugh, but they didn't defend me either. They just sat there, frozen. I looked at my daughter's face, at the way she was laughing at me, and something inside me went cold. Not hurt, not sad, cold. I stood up slowly, smoothing down my burgundy blouse. I took a deep breath, and then I smiled. "That's an interesting question, Devante," I said, my voice steady and calm. "But I have a better one." The laughter died down. Jasmine wiped her eyes, still grinning. "How does it feel?" I said, looking directly at Devante. "To know that this loser will no longer pay your bills?" The smile fell off his face like I'd slapped it away. "What?" Jasmine said, her voice sharp. "You heard me," I said. "I'm done. No more car payments, no more credit cards, no more phone bills. Insurance, groceries, nothing. As of right now, you're on your own." "Mom, you can't be serious," Jasmine said, standing up. "Where are we supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. I want you out of my house by November 5th. Devante's face turned red. "You can't just kick us out. We have rights. We've been living here for 6 months." "As guests," I said. "Guests who never paid rent. Guests who just insulted me at my own dinner table. I think I've been more than generous." "You're really going to do this?" Jasmine asked, and for the first time I heard panic in her voice. "After everything, I'm your daughter, and you just laughed while your husband called me a loser," I said quietly. "In front of your children, in my house, at the table I've set for you every Sunday since you were born." Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. The truth was, I'd been planning this for a while. Not consciously, maybe, but somewhere deep down, I knew it was coming. You don't get to be 65 years old without learning a few things about people. And one thing I'd learned was that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones you love best. Let me back up and tell you how I got here. My name is Loretta Mae Johnson, and I've lived in Greenville, South Carolina my whole life. I grew up in a small house on the east side, the youngest of 5 kids. My mama worked as a housekeeper. My daddy was a mechanic. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Mama used to say, "Baby girl, family is everything. You take care of yours, and they'll take care of you." I believed that for a long time. I married young, 22, to a man named Raymond. He was handsome and charming and promised me the world. We had Jasmine 2 years later, and for a while things were good. Raymond worked construction. I worked at the hospital as a nursing assistant. We bought our first house when Jasmine was 3, a little 2-bedroom place that needed work but was ours. Then Raymond started staying out late, coming home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine, making excuses. By the time Jasmine was 10, he was gone completely, ran off with a woman from his job site, and never looked back. No child support, no birthday cards, nothing. So I worked. I worked my regular shift at the hospital, then picked up weekend shifts at a nursing home. I worked holidays. I worked double shifts. I worked until my feet ached and my back screamed. I did it all so Jasmine would never feel like she was missing out. So she could have new school clothes and birthday parties and piano lessons. I put her through college. Every penny I could save went to her tuition at South Carolina State University. She wanted to study business management, said she was going to be successful, make something of herself. I was so proud. She met Devante her junior year. He was older, already graduated, working in sales. He was smooth-talking and confident, and Jasmine was head over heels. I had my concerns, but I kept them to myself. A mama wants her daughter to be happy, you know. They got married the summer after Jasmine graduated. It was a beautiful wedding at First Baptist Church, where I'd been a member for 30 years. 200 guests, a reception at the Marriott. I paid for most of it. Raymond didn't show up, didn't even send a card. But I made sure my baby had the wedding she wanted. For a few years, things seemed okay. They had Tyler, then Maya. They bought a house in a nice neighborhood. Devante was working at a car dealership, said he was moving up. Jasmine got a job as an office manager at a dental practice. But then the cracks started showing. Devante got fired from the dealership for something he wouldn't talk about. He found another job, but the money wasn't the same. Then he started talking about investments and opportunities. He convinced Jasmine to let him use their savings to start a consulting business. It failed within 6 months. They lost the house, had to short sell it, and move into a rental. The rental was expensive, and with Devante barely working and Jasmine's salary alone not enough, they started falling behind. That's when Jasmine called me, crying, desperate. Said they were about to be evicted, didn't know what to do. What was I supposed to say? She was my daughter, my only child. So I told them they could move in with me, just temporarily, until they got back on their feet. That was March. It was now October. In those 6 months, I'd paid for everything. Their car payments, their insurance, their phones, groceries, Tyler's school supplies, Maya's dance classes. Every time I tried to talk to Jasmine about when they might start contributing, she'd get defensive, say I was pressuring her, that I didn't understand how hard things were. And Devante, he walked around my house like he owned it, left his shoes in the middle of the living room floor, ate the last of whatever was in the fridge without asking, complained about the Wi-Fi speed, made comments about how I needed to update my furniture, my decor, my everything. But I kept quiet, kept the peace, because that's what Mama taught me. You take care of family. Until tonight. Until he called me a loser. Until my own daughter laughed. Now, standing in my dining room with my family staring at me in shock, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. You need to leave, I said calmly. All of you. Go upstairs, pack some things, and find somewhere else to sleep tonight. Tonight? Jasmine shrieked. Mom, it's 8 o'clock on a Sunday. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my concern, I said. You have family. You have friends. Figure it out. Grandma, Tyler said quietly. It was the first time he'd spoken since the argument started. Can we please just stay tonight? I have school tomorrow. I have a test. I looked at my grandson. He didn't deserve this. Neither did Maya. But I also knew that if I backed down now, nothing would change. You can stay, I said to Tyler and Maya. Your parents need to leave. You can't keep our kids, Devante said, his voice dangerous. That's kidnapping. It's not kidnapping if they choose to stay, I said. Tyler, Maya, do you want to stay here tonight or go with your parents? They both looked terrified. Tyler opened his mouth, then closed it. Maya started crying. See what you're doing? Jasmine said, pointing at me. You're traumatizing your own grandchildren. What kind of person does that? The kind who just got called a loser at her own dinner table, I said. Get out, now, or I'll call the police and have you removed. Devante grabbed Jasmine's arm. Come on, we're not staying where we're not wanted. What about the kids? Jasmine asked, still crying. Bring them, Devante said. We'll figure something out. They rushed upstairs. I could hear drawers opening and closing, things being thrown into bags. Tyler and Maya sat at the table, neither one eating, both looking like their world had just collapsed. I'm sorry you had to see this, I told them quietly. Why are you doing this? Maya asked, her voice small. Daddy was just joking. No, baby, I said. He wasn't, and your mama wasn't either. But you'll understand one day. Sometimes people take advantage of kindness. And when you let them, you're not helping them. You're hurting yourself. 15 minutes later, Jasmine and Devante came downstairs with 2 suitcases and garbage bags full of clothes. Devante grabbed Tyler and Maya by their shoulders. Let's go, he said. Where are we going? Tyler asked. Hotel, Devante said. Your grandmother's gone crazy, but don't worry. We'll figure this out. Jasmine stopped at the door. She turned to look at me, and for a second, I thought I saw regret in her eyes. I hope you're happy, she said. I hope you enjoy being alone in this big house, because that's all you're ever going to be, alone. She slammed the door behind them. I stood in my empty dining room, looking at the half-eaten dinner, the cold chicken, the spilled wine. I should have felt sad. I should have felt guilty, but all I felt was relief. I pulled out my phone and called my best friend, Tyan. Tomansam. Tones picked up on the second ring. Girl, what's wrong? She said immediately. Diane always could read me. I just kicked Jasmine and Devante out, I said. There was a pause, then, well, praise Jesus, it's about time. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. And then I was crying too, tears running down my face, standing alone in my dining room on a Sunday night. Can you come over? I asked. I'm already grabbing my keys, Diane said. While I waited for her, I started cleaning up. I put the food away, washed the dishes, blew out the candles. With each task, I felt lighter, like I was washing away more than just dinner plates. My phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine, "You're going to regret this." Then another one from Devante. "We'll see who's laughing when we sue you for everything you've got." I turned off my phone. Diane arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of wine and a box of tissues. She was 63, had been my friend since we were both nursing assistants starting out at Greenville Memorial Hospital 40 years ago. She'd seen me through Raymond leaving, through raising Jasmine alone, through everything. "Tell me what happened," she said, pouring us both a glass of wine. I told her everything. The dinner, Devante's cruel words, Jasmine's laughter, my decision. "And you know what the worst part is?" I said. "I saw it coming. I knew they were using me. I just didn't want to admit it." "That's because you're a good mama," Diane said. "You wanted to believe the best in your child. Ain't nothing wrong with that." But at what cost? I asked. I spent 6 months paying their bills, cooking their meals, doing their laundry. And for what? To be called a loser? Diane reached across my kitchen table and grabbed my hand. Loretta, honey, listen to me. What you did tonight, that took strength. That took courage. Most people would have just sat there and taken it, kept on letting them walk all over them. But not you. You stood up for yourself. It doesn't feel like strength, I said. It feels like I just blew up my family. No, Diane said firmly. They did that, not you. You set a boundary. That's different. We sat there for a while, drinking wine and talking. Diane told me about her own daughter, who'd asked to borrow money last month for the 3rd time that year. Diane had said no. Her daughter hadn't spoken to her since. It's hard, Diane said, loving your kids but refusing to let them destroy you. But it's necessary. Around 11, Diane went home. I locked the door behind her, then walked through my house. It felt different already, quieter, but not in a bad way. I went upstairs to the guest room where Jasmine and Devante had been staying. Clothes were scattered everywhere, drawers left open, the bed unmade. I closed the door and went to my own room. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, Monday, I woke up early. I made myself coffee and sat on my back porch, watching the sun come up. My phone was still off. I wasn't ready to deal with whatever messages were waiting for me. At 9 o'clock, I had an appointment. I'd made it 2 weeks ago, before the dinner disaster, but now it felt more important than ever. I drove downtown to the offices of Mitchell & Associates, the law firm I'd found through my church. Brother Marcus Mitchell was a deacon at First Baptist, and when I'd mentioned I wanted to talk to someone about estate planning, he'd insisted I come see him. "Mrs. Johnson," he said, shaking my hand in his office, "good to see you. How can I help you today?" I took a deep breath. "I want to make sure my affairs are in order," I said, "and I want to make some changes to my will." Brother Marcus nodded, pulling out a legal pad. "Okay, what kind of changes are we talking about?" "Everything," I said. "I want to change everything." For the next hour, I told him what I wanted. He listened carefully, taking notes, asking questions. When I finished, he looked up at me. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "This is going to cause some serious family tension." "The tension's already there," I said. "I'm just making sure it doesn't cost me everything I've worked for." "Fair enough," he said. "I'll draw up the papers. We can have everything ready by the end of the week." I left his office feeling more certain than I had in months. I was taking control of my life. Finally. My phone buzzed in my purse. I'd turned it back on in the parking lot. 12 missed calls from Jasmine, 8 from Devante, 15 text messages. I didn't read them, not yet. Instead, I drove to my favorite spot in Greenville Falls Park. I sat on a bench overlooking the waterfall and watched the water crash over the rocks. People walked by with their dogs, their children, their partners. Life going on like nothing had changed, but everything had changed for me. My phone rang. Jasmine again. This time, I answered. "Mom," she said immediately, "we need to talk." "I'm listening," I said. "Devante wants to apologize," she said. "He was out of line last night. We both were. But you have to understand, we're under a lot of stress. Money's tight. He's been worried about providing for the family. He didn't mean what he said." "Yes, he did," I said calmly. And you meant it when you laughed. Mom, please, where are we supposed to go? We spent last night at a Motel 6. The kids barely slept. Tyler missed his test. Maya cried herself to sleep. You're hurting your grandchildren. No, I said. You and Devante are hurting them by refusing to take responsibility for yourselves, by expecting me to fix all your problems. So what are we supposed to do? Jasmine asked, her voice breaking. Find jobs that pay better. Cut your expenses. Maybe Devante can go back to school, get some training. There are programs, resources, but that's on you, not me. You're really not going to help us? She asked. I helped you for 6 months, I said. I gave you a place to live, paid your bills, fed your children. And you thanked me by letting your husband call me a loser. So no, Jasmine, I'm not going to help you anymore. You need to help yourself. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, fine, but don't come crying to me when you're old and alone and need someone to take care of you, because after this, I'm done with you too. She hung up. I sat there on that bench, staring at my phone, and I realized something. I wasn't sad. I wasn't hurt. I was angry. Angry that I'd sacrificed so much for a daughter who thought so little of me. Angry that I'd let myself become a doormat. Angry that it had taken me 65 years to learn how to say no. But I was also determined. This was my life, my house, my money, my choices, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that away from me ever again. I drove home and spent the rest of the day doing something I hadn't done in months. Nothing. I read a book. I took a bath. I watched TV. I didn't cook dinner for anyone but myself. I didn't clean up after anyone. I didn't worry about anyone else's problems. It felt like heaven. That night, around 10 o'clock, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Devante standing on my porch. I opened the door but kept the chain on. What do you want? I asked. I want to talk, he said. Man to man. Or man to woman. Whatever. I don't have anything to say to you, I said. Well, I have something to say to you, he said, and there was an edge to his voice that made me nervous. You think you can just kick us out like that? Make us look like fools? I got news for you, old lady. You messed with the wrong one. Are you threatening me? I asked calmly. I'm just saying, actions have consequences, he said. You're going to regret this. No, I said. I don't think I will. Now get off my porch, or I'm calling the police. Call them, he said. I'll tell them you illegally evicted us, that you're keeping our stuff hostage. We have rights, Loretta. You have 30 days, I said, per the notice I'm having my lawyer deliver tomorrow. Until then, stay away from my property. I closed the door and locked it. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my phone and called Diane. He just showed up at my door, I said, trying to intimidate me. Call the police, Diane said immediately. File a report. You need a paper trail. She was right. I called the non-emergency line and explained what happened. They sent an officer over who took my statement and told Devante, who was still sitting in his car at the curb, to leave. If he comes back, the officer told me, call us immediately, and you might want to think about getting a restraining order. After he left, I sat in my living room with all the lights on, too nervous to go to bed. What had I gotten myself into? What if Devante came back? What if he did something crazy? But then I thought about that dinner table, about the way he'd looked at me with such contempt, about my daughter's laughter. and I knew I'd made the right choice. No matter what happened next, I wasn't going back. I was moving forward, even if I had to do it alone. The next morning, I woke up to find my trash cans knocked over and garbage spread across my front lawn. My mailbox had been bashed in, the little red flag bent at an odd angle. I stood on my porch in my bathrobe, looking at the mess, and I knew exactly who'd done it. I took pictures with my phone before cleaning anything up. Then I called the police again. The same officer from last night came out. Officer Jenkins, a young black man who reminded me of my nephew. "Mrs. Johnson," he said, looking at the damage, "you definitely need to file for that restraining order. This is harassment." "I will," I said. "I have a lawyer. I'll call him today." After Officer Jenkins left and I'd cleaned up the yard, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and made a list. It's what I did when life felt overwhelming. Write it down, make a plan, take control. My list said, call Brother Marcus about restraining order. Change locks on house, call bank about protecting accounts. Talk to Pastor Williams. Get security cameras installed. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. She was in her 70s, had lived next door for 20 years. We weren't close, but we were friendly, waved to each other, chatted about the weather. "Loretta," she said when I opened the door, "I wanted to check on you. I saw the police here last night, and again this morning. Is everything okay?" For some reason, her kindness made my eyes water. "I'm handling some family issues," I said. "That man who was here last night in the blue car," she said. "He came back around 2 in the morning. I saw him on my Ring camera. He threw something at your house. I have the footage if you need it." I could have hugged her. "Mrs. Chen, that would be incredibly helpful." She pulled out her phone and showed me. There was Devante, clear as day, throwing what looked like eggs at my front windows. "I'd have to wash them later. Can you send me that?" I asked. "Already done," she said. "I have your number from the neighborhood email list. Loretta, if you need anything, I'm right here. And I'm not the only one watching. Mr. Patterson across the street. He's been keeping an eye out, too." After she left, I felt less alone. My neighbors had my back. People I barely knew cared enough to help me. I called Brother Marcus and told him about the vandalism and Mrs. Chen's video. "That's perfect," he said. "We'll file for an emergency restraining order this afternoon. Can you come to the courthouse at 2? "I'll be there," I said. Next, I called a locksmith. He came out within an hour and changed all my locks. New keys, new deadbolts, new sense of security. While he worked, I called ADT and scheduled a security system installation for the next day. Then I drove to First Baptist Church. It was Tuesday, not a service day, but I knew Pastor Williams would be in his office. He'd been our pastor for 15 years, a good man with a kind heart and a sharp mind. "Sister Loretta," he said, standing when I knocked on his open door. Come in, come in. What brings you by?" I sat in the chair across from his desk and told him everything. The dinner, the eviction, the vandalism, all of it. Pastor Williams listened without interrupting, his hands folded on his desk. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "I'm going to be straight with you," he said finally. "I've known Jasmine since she was a baby. Watched her grow up in this church. and I've seen the change in her over the years, especially since she married Devante. It grieves me to say it, but that young man has led her away from her values, away from the principles you raised her with. I don't know what to do, I admitted. She's my daughter, but I can't keep letting her hurt me. You're doing the right thing by setting boundaries, Pastor Williams said. The Bible tells us to honor our parents, but it also tells us not to enable destruction. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes love means letting people face the consequences of their choices. I just feel so guilty, I said, about Tyler and Maya. They're innocent in all this. They are. Us are, he agreed, and they're learning a hard lesson right now about consequences. But maybe that's a lesson they need to learn. Maybe watching you stand up for yourself will teach them something important about self-respect. Before I left, Pastor Williams prayed with me. Then he said, I'm going to have the deacons and deaconesses pray for you at our meeting tonight. And if you need anything at all, you call me, day or night. At 2:00, I met Brother Marcus at the courthouse. We filed the paperwork for an emergency restraining order against Devante. The judge reviewed Mrs. Chen's video footage, the police reports, and my statement. Mr. Devante Harrison is hereby ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from Mrs. Loretta Johnson, her residence, and her place of work, the judge said. He is not to contact her directly or indirectly. This order is effective immediately. A hearing is scheduled for October 23rd to determine if this will become a permanent order. When we left the courthouse, Brother Marcus handed me copies of all the paperwork. Make sure you carry this with you, he said. If he violates it, call the police immediately. It's a criminal offense. Thank you, I said, for everything. We're not done yet, he said. I've been thinking about what you told me yesterday, about how they've been pressuring you to sell your house. I want to do some digging, make sure there's nothing else going on that you don't know about. Like what? I asked. Just a hunch, he said. Give me a few days, I'll call you. That night, Diane came over with Chinese food, and we ate in my living room, watching old episodes of The Golden Girls. It felt good to laugh, to feel normal for a few hours. You're handling this like a champ, Diane said. I'm proud of you. I don't feel like a champ, I admitted. I feel like a terrible mother. Stop it, Diane said firmly. A terrible mother wouldn't have sacrificed everything for her child, wouldn't have worked herself to the bone to give her daughter a better life. You did your part, Loretta, more than your part. What Jasmine and Devante do with their lives now is on them. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You think a piece of paper is going to stop me? You're going to pay for what you did. I showed it to Diane. That's him, she said. Save that. Forward it to your lawyer. That's evidence. I did, then blocked the number. Over the next few days, I fell into a new routine. I woke up early, drank my coffee on the porch, and actually enjoyed the quiet. I started going to the gym 3 times a week, something I hadn't done in years. I went to the library and checked out books I'd been meaning to read. I visited with friends I'd neglected while I was busy taking care of Jasmine's family. I felt like myself again, the self I'd lost somewhere along the way. On Friday, Brother Marcus called. Can you come to my office? I found something you need to see. When I got there, he had a folder spread out on his desk. His expression was serious. "Loretta, sit down," he said. I sat, my heart starting to pound. "I did some digging like I said I would," he began. "And I found something disturbing. Do you remember signing any paperwork for Jasmine in the last few months? Anything about your house?" I thought back. She asked me to sign something back in August, said it was for refinancing their car loan, that they needed a co-signer. Why? Brother Marcus turned his computer screen toward me. "This is why." I looked at the document on the screen. It was a quitclaim deed for my house, dated August 15th, with my signature on it. "What is this?" I asked, even though I already knew. My stomach was churning. "It's a deed transferring ownership of your property to Jasmine Harrison," Brother Marcus said quietly. "If this had gone through, your daughter would own your house. You'd have no legal claim to it at all." The room started spinning. "But I didn't sign that." "I believe you," he said. "But that's your signature, isn't it?" I looked closer. It was my signature. But I'd never signed anything like this. I'd signed papers for a car refinance, not this. "They switched the papers," I said, the realization hitting me like a truck. "Jasmine showed me loan papers. I signed them, but she must have put this in there somehow." "That's fraud," Brother Marcus said. "That's forgery and fraud. The good news is I caught it before it was fully processed. There was an issue with the title company, some paperwork that didn't match up. That's why they reached out to me when they saw I was your attorney. I was able to stop it from being filed with the county." I couldn't breathe. My own daughter had tried to steal my house. Not just convince me to sell it, steal it. Forge documents, commit fraud. "What do I do?" I asked. "We file a police report," Brother Marcus said. "This is a serious crime. And we make sure this deed never sees the light of day again. I've already contacted the title company and informed them this was fraudulent." "If I file a police report, Jasmine could go to jail," I said. "Yes," Brother Marcus said, "she could." I thought about my baby girl, the little girl I'd rocked to sleep, the teenager I'd stayed up late helping with homework, the young woman I'd been so proud of when she graduated college. And I thought about that dinner table, about her laughter, about this deed with my forged signature. "File the report," I said. Brother Marcus drove me to the police station. We met with a detective, a black woman in her 40s named Detective Patricia Moore. I showed her everything. The deed, the papers I thought I'd signed, the timeline of events. "Mrs. Johnson," Detective Moore said, "I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to get ugly. If we pursue this, your daughter will be arrested. She could face serious charges: fraud, forgery, attempted theft. This isn't a small thing." "I know," I said, "but if I don't stop her now, what else will she do? What else has she already done that I don't know about?" Detective Moore nodded. "That's the right question. Let me do some investigating. I'll pull financial records, see if there are any other suspicious transactions. In the meantime, I need you to check everything: your bank accounts, credit cards, anything with your name on it. Look for anything unusual." When I got home, I spent the next 4 hours going through every financial document I had: bank statements, credit card bills, investment accounts, my retirement fund. That's when I found it: my retirement account, The one I'd been contributing to for 40 years was almost empty. There should have been nearly $300,000 in it. Instead, there was $42,000. My hands shook as I called the investment company. After being transferred 3 times, I finally got someone who could help me. Mrs. Johnson, it looks like there were several withdrawals over the past 4 months, the representative said. $50,000 in June, $75,000 in July, another $75,000 in August, and $58,000 in September. I didn't authorize any of those, I said. The withdrawals were made online, using your login credentials and confirmed with your security code, she said. I don't use online banking, I said. I don't even know my login information. There was a pause. Mrs. Johnson, I'm going to transfer you to our fraud department. 2 hours later, I knew what had happened. Jasmine had access to my computer when she lived with me. She must have gone through my files, found my account information, reset my passwords. She'd been stealing from me for months. I called Detective Moore back. I found more, I said, and I told her everything. I'm issuing a warrant for her arrest, Detective Moore said. This isn't just attempted fraud anymore. This is actual theft, grand larceny. She's going to jail, Mrs. Johnson. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how I'd gotten here. How had I raised a daughter who could do this to me? But then I thought about Raymond, about how he'd walked away without looking back, about how Jasmine had watched that and learned that people were disposable. That money mattered more than relationships. And I thought about Devante with his smooth talk and his schemes, how he'd influenced her, encouraged her worst instincts. My phone rang at 2 a.m. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I answered anyway. Mom, it was Jasmine. She was crying. Mom, please, you have to help me. The police are looking for me. They said I committed fraud. They said I stole from you. But I didn't, I swear. It was Devante's idea. He made me do it. Where are you? I asked, my voice flat. I can't tell you that, she said. But please, you have to call them off. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you gave me permission. But I didn't, I said. You forged my signature. You stole $258,000 from my retirement account. You tried to steal my house. I was desperate, she screamed. We were going to lose everything. Devante said this was the only way. He said you'd never even notice because you're old and you don't check your accounts. Something in me went cold. So you thought it was okay to rob me blind because I'm old? That's not what I meant, she said quickly. Mom, please. I'm begging you. I'll pay you back. Every penny, I promise. Just don't let them arrest me. Tyler and Maya need me. Tyler and Maya need a mother who isn't a thief, I said. You made your choices, Jasmine. Now you have to face the consequences. I can't believe you're doing this, she said, her voice turning hard. Your own daughter. You're really going to send me to prison? No, I said. You're sending yourself to prison. All I did was refuse to be your victim anymore. She hung up. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in my living room, watching the sun come up, and I cried. Not for the money, not for the house, but for the relationship I'd lost, for the daughter who'd never really existed, the one I'd thought I had, but who'd been a fantasy all along. On Saturday morning, Diane came over and found me still in my pajamas, still crying. Oh, honey, she said, wrapping me in a hug. I heard. Pastor Williams called me. He said Jasmine was arrested last night. Good, I said, wiping my eyes. She should be. You did the right thing, Diane said. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did. That afternoon, I got a call from Tyler. He was crying. Grandma, they took Mom to jail, he said. Dad's telling everyone you did this to her, that you're lying, that you're trying to destroy our family because you're jealous and bitter. Tyler, listen to me, I said. Your mother stole from me over $250,000. She tried to forge documents to steal my house. Those are facts. I have proof. I'm not lying, and I'm not trying to destroy anyone. Your mother did this to herself. But where are we supposed to go? He asked. Dad can't afford a place on his own. We're living in a motel. Maya has to share a bed with me. Kids at school found out about Mom, and they're making fun of us. My heart broke for him. Baby, I'm so sorry. I really am. But this isn't my fault. And it's not your fault either. This is on your parents. Can we come stay with you? He asked. Just me and Maya. We won't be any trouble. I wanted to say yes. Every part of me wanted to say yes. But I also knew that if I let them come back, Devontae would use them to manipulate me. He'd show up at my door, demanding to see his kids. He'd worm his way back into my house, back into my life. Not right now, I said gently, but I tell you what, I'll talk to your dad, see if we can work something out. After I hung up, I called Brother Marcus. I want to file for custody of Tyler and Maya, I said. Can I do that? Possibly, he said. Given the circumstances, you might have a case, but it's going to be a fight. Devontae won't give them up easily. I don't care, I said. Those kids don't deserve to suffer because their parents are criminals. Let me make some calls, Brother Marcus said. We'll figure something out. On Sunday, I went to church for the first time since the dinner disaster. I'd been avoiding it, embarrassed about what people might say, but Pastor Williams had called me 3 times asking me to come, and I finally gave in. When I walked into the sanctuary, I was terrified. I thought everyone would stare at me, judge me, whisper about me. Instead, Sister Beverly came right up and hugged me, then Sister Patricia, then Brother James. One by one, members of my church family surrounded me, offering support and prayers. We heard what happened, Sister Beverly said, and we want you to know we're here for you, whatever you need. During the service, Pastor Williams called me up front. Church family, he said, many of you know Sister Loretta has been going through a difficult time. I want us to lift her up right now. To show her that she is not alone, the entire congregation stood and prayed for me, prayed for my strength, prayed for Tyler and Maya, prayed for Jasmine's redemption, prayed for justice. I stood there with tears streaming down my face, feeling the power of their love and support wash over me. After church, Brother Marcus found me in the parking lot. I have news, he said. Jasmine made bail. She's out. My stomach dropped. Already? Devontae came up with the bail money somehow, he said. But there's more. She's not allowed to contact you per the restraining order, and her trial date is set for December 10th. What happens at the trial? I asked. You'll have to testify, he said. Tell the court what happened. They'll present the evidence, and then a jury will decide if she's guilty. She is guilty, I said. We have proof. I know, Brother Marcus said, but she's going to fight it. Her lawyer will try to make you look like the bad guy, like you're vindictive, like you're lying. You need to be prepared for that. I nodded. I could do this. I had to do this. That night, I got a text from another unknown number. This time it was a picture. It showed Tyler and Maya sitting on a motel bed, looking miserable. The caption read, "This is what you did. Hope you can sleep at night." I stared at that picture for a long time. Then I saved it, forwarded it to Detective Moore and Brother Marcus, and blocked the number. I could sleep at night because I knew the truth. I wasn't the villain in this story. I was the woman who'd finally learned to stand up for herself. And I wasn't backing down now, not for anyone. The weeks leading up to Jasmine's trial felt like living in a nightmare that wouldn't end. Every day brought something new. First, it was the social media posts. Devontae had created a whole campaign painting me as an evil mother who'd abandoned her daughter and grandchildren in their time of need. He posted pictures of Tyler and Maya looking sad, with captions like, "These babies are suffering because their grandmother is heartless," and "Family should stick together, but some people care more about money than blood." The posts went viral in our community. People who didn't know me, didn't know the full story, left hateful comments, called me every name you could imagine. Some even found my address and sent threatening letters. But then something amazing happened. People who did know me started fighting back. Sister Beverly posted a long message about how I'd been a faithful church member for 30 years. How I'd helped countless families, how I'd worked myself to exhaustion to provide for my daughter. Diane posted about how I'd spent 6 months supporting Jasmine's family while they contributed nothing. Mrs. Chen posted the video footage of Devontae vandalizing my property. Soon the narrative started to shift. People began asking questions. Why had Jasmine needed so much help if she had a job? Where had all that retirement money gone? What kind of son-in-law calls his mother-in-law a loser? Devontae deleted his social media accounts within a week. The second blow came when I got a call from Maya. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Grandma, Dad got arrested," she said. "They came to the motel this morning and took him away." "Mom's freaking out. She said it's all your fault." My heart sank. "What did they arrest him for?" "I don't know," Maya sobbed. "They just came in with handcuffs and took him." I called Detective Moore immediately. "We arrested Devontae Harrison this morning," she confirmed. "Turns out your daughter wasn't the only one committing fraud. We found evidence that Devontae had been running a car scam at his dealership, selling vehicles with fake titles, pocketing the money. He's looking at multiple felony charges." "Oh my God," I said. "There's more," Detective Moore continued. "We also found evidence that he was the one who masterminded the scheme to steal your house. Text messages between him and Jasmine. He was coaching her on what to say to you, how to get you to sign the papers. He's the ringleader." Part of me felt vindicated. I'd known Devontae was bad news. But another part of me just felt sad. Sad that my daughter had married this man. Sad that my grandchildren had to watch their father be arrested. "What happens now?" I asked. "He'll be arraigned tomorrow. Given his charges and the fact that he's already violated one restraining order, I doubt he'll get bail. He'll probably be held until trial." That evening, Jasmine called me from yet another number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. "Mom," she said. Her voice was small, broken, nothing like the confident, laughing woman from that dinner. "Can we talk, please? Just talk?" "I'm listening," I said. "I messed up," she said. "I know I did. I know I hurt you. But I need you to understand. I was scared. Devante told me we were going to lose everything. He said you wouldn't miss the money. He said you'd want to help us. He convinced me it was okay." "Jasmine, you're a grown woman," I said. "You made your own choices. Devante didn't force you to forge my signature. He didn't force you to steal from my retirement account." "I know," she whispered. "I know. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But Mom, Tyler and Maya need somewhere to stay. With Devante in jail and me dealing with this trial, I can't take care of them properly. We're going to be evicted from the motel in 2 days. We have nowhere to go." Here it was, the moment I'd been dreading. "I'll take Tyler and Maya," I said, "but not you. You can't stay here." "What?" she said. "You're seriously going to take my kids, but not me?" "Yes," I said firmly. "You violated my trust in the worst way possible. You tried to steal everything I've worked for. I will help your children because they're innocent. But I'm done helping you until you take real responsibility for what you've done." "I just said I'm sorry," she yelled. "Sorry isn't enough," I said. "You need to plead guilty. Accept whatever sentence the judge gives you. Do your time, get counseling, and then maybe we can start to rebuild. But not until then." She hung up on me. The next day, I went to the motel where Jasmine and the kids were staying. It was a rundown place off Highway 85, the kind with stained carpets and questionable smells. Jasmine met me outside the room. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her clothes were wrinkled. She'd aged 10 years in a month. "They're inside," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Their stuff is packed." I went into the room. Tyler and Maya sat on the bed, 2 duffel bags at their feet. They looked relieved to see me. "You ready to come stay with Grandma for a while?" I asked. They both nodded, jumping up to hug me. When we came back outside, Jasmine was crying. "Take care of them," she said. "Please." "I will," I said, "because that's what family does, real family." I loaded the kids and their bags into my car. As we drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw Jasmine standing in that motel parking lot, alone, watching us leave. For a moment, just a moment, I felt sorry for her. But then I remembered that dinner table, and the feeling passed. Having Tyler and Maya in the house changed everything. Suddenly, I was cooking big meals again, helping with homework, driving to after-school activities. But this time, it felt different. This time, they appreciated it. They said thank you. They helped clean up. They asked about my day. "Grandma," Maya said one night while we were doing dishes together, "I'm sorry about what happened at that dinner. I should have said something when Dad called you that name." "Baby, you were scared," I said. "I don't blame you." "But I should have stood up for you," she insisted. "You've always been good to us, and we treated you like you didn't matter." Tyler, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, looked up. "We're not going to be like Mom and Dad," he said. "We're going to be better." Those words meant more to me than anything. Brother Marcus helped me file for temporary guardianship. Given Jasmine's legal troubles and Devontae's incarceration, the judge granted it immediately. I was now officially responsible for Tyler and Maya until their parents' situations were resolved. On December 10th, the day of Jasmine's trial, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. I'd been dreading this day, having to testify against my own daughter, having to tell a courtroom full of strangers how she'd betrayed me. Brother Marcus picked me up at 8 in the morning. Diane came too for moral support. We drove to the Greenville County Courthouse in silence. The courtroom was packed. I saw people from church. I saw some of Jasmine's old friends. I saw Devontae's family, who'd been calling me every name in the book since his arrest. Jasmine sat at the defense table with her lawyer, a young white man in an expensive suit that I knew she couldn't afford. She wouldn't look at me when I walked in. The trial started. The prosecutor, a sharp black woman named Ms. Kendall Wright, laid out the case. She showed the forged quitclaim deed. She showed the bank records from my retirement account. She showed text messages between Jasmine and Devontae, planning the whole scheme. Then it was time for me to testify. I walked to the stand, placed my hand on the Bible, and swore to tell the truth. Ms. Wright approached me with a kind smile. "Mrs. Johnson, can you tell the court about your relationship with your daughter?" I took a deep breath and told them everything. My years of sacrifice, the college tuition, the wedding, the 6 months of supporting her family, the dinner where Devontae called me a loser. "And when did you discover the fraud?" Ms. Wright asked. "My attorney found it," I said. "I thought I was signing papers to help with a car loan." I had no idea my daughter had forged a deed to steal my house. "And the retirement account?" "I didn't know about that until later," I said. "She stole $258,000 over 4 months. Money I'd been saving for 40 years. I heard gasps from the gallery. Jasmine's lawyer, Mr. Peterson, stood up for cross-examination. He was aggressive, trying to paint me as vindictive. "Mrs. Johnson, isn't it true that you kicked your daughter and her family out of your home with nowhere to go?" I gave them 30 days' notice after they disrespected me in my own house, I said calmly. "You forced your own grandchildren to live in a motel," he pressed. "No," I said. "Their parents' poor choices forced them to live in a motel. I offered to take Tyler and Maya in. Their mother refused." "Isn't it true that you refused to help your daughter when she was struggling financially?" "I helped her for 6 months," I said, my voice rising. "I paid every one of their bills. I put food on their table. I gave them a roof over their heads, and they thanked me by trying to steal everything I owned." Mr. Peterson kept pushing, but I didn't break. I told the truth, clearly and calmly, over and over. When I stepped down from the stand, I felt exhausted but strong. The prosecution called more witnesses. Detective Moore testified about the investigation. The investment company representative testified about the unauthorized withdrawals. Mrs. Chen testified about the harassment and vandalism. Then they called a witness I wasn't expecting, Jasmine's best friend from college, a woman named Keisha Monroe. Keisha took the stand and looked directly at Jasmine. "I love you, Jazz," she said, "but I can't lie for you anymore." Jasmine's face went pale. "Miss Monroe," Ms. Wright said, "did the defendant ever discuss her plans regarding her mother's property?" "Yes," Keisha said, Back in July, she called me. She was laughing about how she'd gotten her mom to sign some papers. She said her mom was so trusting, so stupid, that she didn't even read what she was signing. She said once the house was in her name, she was going to sell it, and her mom couldn't do anything about it. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. I looked at Jasmine. She was crying, her head in her hands. After Keisha's testimony, Jasmine's lawyer called her to the stand. It was a mistake. Under Ms. Wright's cross-examination, Jasmine fell apart. She tried to blame everything on Devontae, but the text messages showed she was an active participant. She tried to claim she planned to pay me back, but she couldn't explain why she'd tried to forge the house deed. Finally, Ms. Wright asked, "Miss Harrison, do you think your mother deserved to be treated this way?" Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Then, so softly I almost couldn't hear her, she said, "No." "Do you think you should face consequences for your actions?" Jasmine looked at me for the first time all day. Our eyes met across the courtroom. "Yes," she whispered. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they came back, the forewoman stood. "On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of forgery, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of grand larceny, we find the defendant guilty." Jasmine collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. Ms. Wright told me Jasmine was looking at anywhere from 3 to 10 years in prison, depending on the judge. "How do you feel?" Brother Marcus asked as we left the courthouse. "Empty," I said honestly. "I won, but I don't feel like I won anything." "You won your dignity," Diane said. "You won your self-respect. That's not nothing." At the sentencing hearing, I was allowed to give a victim impact statement. I stood before the judge and my daughter and said what was in my heart. "Your Honor, Jasmine is my only child. I love her. I always will. But love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Love doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. What my daughter did wasn't just about money. It was about trust. It was about respect. It was about recognizing that I'm a human being who deserves to be treated with dignity." I turned to face Jasmine. "I forgive you," I said, "but forgiveness doesn't mean there shouldn't be consequences. I hope you use whatever time you're given to figure out who you want to be. Because the woman who stole from her own mother isn't who I raised you to be." The judge sentenced Jasmine to 5 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 3. Devontae got 8 years for his multiple fraud charges. As they led Jasmine away in handcuffs, she looked back at me one more time. "I'm sorry, Mama," she said. "I know, baby," I said. "I know." 3 months later, life had settled into a new normal. Tyler and Maya were thriving. Tyler made honor roll. Maya joined the youth choir at church. They both started seeing a counselor to help them process everything. I visited Jasmine once a month at the Women's Correctional Facility. The visits were hard, awkward, but slowly we were talking, really talking. She was in counseling too, finally dealing with her issues. "I blamed you for everything," she told me during one visit. "For Dad leaving, for not being perfect, for not having enough money to give me the life I wanted. I never appreciated what you did give me, and I let Devontae convince me that you owed me more." "I did the best I could," I said. "I know that now," she said. "And it was more than enough. I'm the one who wasn't enough, but I'm going to be better. When I get out, I'm going to be the mother I should have been, the daughter I should have been. I'll be here, I said. When you're ready. My retirement account had been partially recovered. The district attorney's office managed to track down about $100,000 that Jasmine and Devante hadn't spent yet. It wasn't everything, but it was something. More importantly, I'd taken control of my life. I'd set boundaries. I'd stood up for myself. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. One Sunday after church, Pastor Williams pulled me aside. "Sister Loretta, I want you to share your testimony with the congregation," he said. "I think a lot of people need to hear your story." The next Sunday, I stood in front of my church family and told them everything about the betrayal, about the forgiveness, about learning to love myself enough to demand respect. When I finished, Sister Beverly stood up. "Church, Sister Loretta has shown us what real strength looks like. She's shown us that setting boundaries isn't selfish, that protecting yourself isn't unchristian, that you can love someone and still refuse to be their victim." The congregation erupted in applause. After the service, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 30, with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "My family has been taking advantage of me for years. I've been too scared to stand up to them, but hearing your story, you gave me courage." Over the next few months, I heard from dozens of people with similar stories. People who'd been enabling destructive family members. People who'd lost themselves trying to keep the peace. People who needed permission to put themselves first. I started a support group at church for people dealing with family financial abuse. We met every Tuesday night. We shared our stories. We encouraged each other. We learned that we weren't alone. One year after that terrible dinner, I sat on my back porch watching Tyler and Maya play basketball in the yard. The security cameras I'd installed were still there, but I barely noticed them anymore. The locks had been changed. The house was mine, truly mine, in a way it hadn't been before. My phone rang. It was Jasmine, calling from prison. "Hey, Mama," she said. "Hey, baby," I said. "How are you?" "I'm okay," she said. "I've been working in the library here, and I enrolled in some college courses. I'm going to finish my business degree." "That's wonderful," I said, and I meant it. "Mama, I want you to know something," she said. "I'm glad you did what you did. I'm glad you turned me in. I needed this. I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to face what I'd become." "I'm proud of you for doing the work," I said. "Tell Tyler and Maya I love them," she said, "and that I'm going to be the kind of mother they deserve." "I will," I promised. After we hung up, I sat there in the fading light, thinking about everything that had happened, about how close I'd come to losing everything, about how standing up for myself had saved not just my house and my money, but my soul. Diane came out with 2 glasses of sweet tea and sat beside me. "You know what I realized?" I said. "That dinner wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was the best thing. Because it woke me up. It made me stop being a doormat and start being a woman who knows her worth." "Amen to that," Diane said, raising her glass. We clinked our glasses together as the sun set over my backyard, over my house, over my life that was finally, truly mine. I'd lost a lot, but I'd gained something more valuable. I'd gained myself back, and that was worth everything. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.